call on Government Order of the Day number 10.
Te Kawerau a Maki Claim Settlement Bill, second reading.
Mr Speaker.
I call the Honourable Christopher Finlayson.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Te Kawerau Maki Claim Settlement Bill be now read a second time. This is an iwi with customary interests in Tāmaki Makaurau, particularly in Hikurangi and in the Waitakere Ranges. The settlement is very important. It settles the long-standing grievances of Te Kawerau Maki, an iwi whose land was gradually alienated from tribal control until its members were rendered landless. The Māori Affairs Select Committee has considered the bill and has submitted its commentary to the House. I want to thank the Chair and the committee for the work they've done. And I also want to thank other ministers, departments and officials who have worked on this bill. The committee's made a number of recommendations for amendment to the bill, and these include, first, an amendment to the timing of the shared right of first refusal between Te Kawerau a Maki, Maratuahu, Iwi and Ngāti Whātua. The change of name of the Historic Places Trust amended to the Heritage New Zealand Pōheri Taonga in line with the 2014 legislation. The increase in size of cultural redress property, and I particularly refer to the Tahenga site B, from 7 hectares to 11 hectares, and there are a couple of technical amendments as well. As these amendments, I hope, are non-controversial and technical in nature, they should be adopted in their totality. The committee heard submissions in Auckland and Wellington. Most submissions supported the bill. However, some submissions sought recognition of informal interests in the Tahenga Site B, which is a site located near the Waitakere Ranges. The submitters were representatives of families whose private properties adjoin this site. The Tahenga Site B is to be vested in Te Kawerau Maki as a historic reserve to recognise the customary interests of the iwi in this area. And I note the committee's assessment of the long-standing connection between the neighbouring families and the Tahenga Beach area. I intend to address this issue in a supplementary order paper to this bill, and I'll progress that during the committee stages of the House. The SOP will make changes to reflect the agreement reached between Te Kawerau a Maki and the families to recognise and formalise the informal interests in the Tahenga Site B. The SOP will also make necessary technical changes for clarification and consistency with the deed of settlement. Let me say something about rights of first refusal because, as is passably obvious to those who have been following this place in recent times, there has been some media coverage and debate in the House about rights of first refusal, and I particularly refer to the Affordable Housing Initiative in Auckland and the rights of first refusal negotiated through treaty settlements. Mr. Speaker, rights of first refusal are a vital part of treaty settlements and have been ever since the 1995 settlement with Waikato Tainui. They recognise the importance of an iwi or claimant group rebuilding their land holdings and their relationship to the land as tangata whenua. Sometimes Crown land that is significant to an iwi is not available for immediate use in their settlements, and that's why RFRs are negotiated to give the iwi the opportunity to buy the land if it becomes available in the future. An RFR is not valued in financial terms or counted against the settlement quantum, but it's simply the right to purchase certain Crown land at market value if it becomes surplus in the future. RFRs are reasonably straightforward, but a number of things have to be borne in mind. First, RFRs are subject to existing third-party rights and statutory requirements, the most well-known example of which is the provision relating to offerbacks in the Public Works Act. Secondly, not every RFR is the same. So the provisions of specific RFRs must be carefully examined before the Crown disposes of the land. So, for example, I say to Nanaia Mahuta, she'll be aware of the terms of the RFR in the Waikato Tainui legislation, very similar to that in the Ngāi Settlement Claims Act, in very broad terms, and more recently that needs to be compared, for example, with the RFR in the Tāmaki collective legislation, which is of a different type altogether, and then one has to look at the RFR in this legislation. Because the fact of the matter is, you have an arm's length negotiation in relation to these. There's no boilerplate provision. They need to be carefully negotiated and carefully stepped through so that people don't trip over themselves. The bill provides to Kawerau Maki with 3 different RFRs. It sets out an exclusive right of first refusal over certain land, for example, Clark House and Te Unekiratia Point land. Then there's a shared right of first refusal with Ngāti Whātua o Kaipara in relation to the Auckland prison land. And finally, there's a future shared right of first refusal with Te Runanga o Ngāti Whātua and Maratuahu iwi in relation to Crown-owned land within a certain land area. Te Kawerau Maki are also part of the Tāmaki collective, who have rights of first refusal under the Ngā Mana Whenua o Tāmaki Makaurau Collective Redress Act 2014. So in relation to any particular piece of land, the first issue is going to be, is it covered by an RFR? If so, what are the terms of that RFR? Do not assume that the terms of that RFR will be the same as the RFR for adjoining land, because they may not be. And that's why it's important to pay close attention. And as I've said, and I say it again, on a number of occasions to the Tāmaki iwi, I'm keeping a close eye on this matter through the Post-Settlement Commitments Unit, because these rights of first refusal, for example, in the case of the Tāmaki Collective, are very valuable. That one will last for 172 years, so it's important to make sure that we get things right at the start. This government is utterly committed to meeting its treaty obligations, including ones relating to rights of first refusal, and very much wants a positive and constructive relationship with its treaty partners. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Te Kawerau Maki and the Te Henga families for their goodwill and their engagement through this process. I think there has been very useful engagement, and it's one of those things that informal arrangements may be able to be formalised as a result of this treaty settlement, and I would have thought that that would suit the Te Henga families very well indeed. I also want to thank Maratuahu and Te Runanga o Ngāti Whātua for their engagement on the shared RFR issue. Mr. Speaker, I commend the bill to the House.
Members, the question is that the motion be agreed to.
Mr. Speaker.
I call Kelvin Davis.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker.